Many people on YouTube recently have been posting videos of themselves drawing little stick figures and writing Muhammad or writing the Prophet Muhammad beneath them. I also think most of these people who have gotten involved in this campaign have not actually done research about the issue and what's at stake. Now, what happened was in mid to late April, Comedy Central censored an episode of South Park in which the Prophet Muhammad appeared, or didn't appear, whatever you want to call it. The mainstream media painted it as Islam versus free speech, Muslims versus the right of the South Park creators to do and say whatever they want. As part of this portrayal, the media cited a blog post by Revolution Muslim in which they warned the creators of South Park to be careful how they portray the Prophet Muhammad, because people have been killed over this kind of thing in the past, specifically Theo Van Gogh, and they mentioned him in the blog post. I'll be posting a link to the actual text of the blog post, so people can read it for themselves and make up their own minds. But the media basically said that Revolution Muslim was posting threats to the creators of South Park, or that Revolution Muslim was inciting violence against the creators of South Park. Nothing could be further from the truth. Please read the blog post and make up your own mind. But when I read the blog post, I was really quite shocked to see that there's no threats in there. They're actually warning the creators of South Park about things that could happen to them as a result of other people's intolerance, and not Revolution Muslims' intolerance. And the fact that this was taken as a Revolution Muslim issues death threat or fatwa against South Park creators says a lot. It says that we have a real problem in this country and on YouTube. The problem is racism. If a Muslim or an Islamic person or a person of the Islamic faith says anything critical of U.S. foreign policy, says anything critical about racist cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad or Muslims in general, all of a sudden they're an extremist. All of a sudden they're a terrorist. All of a sudden people want to know what they think about 9/11. If you don't believe me, check out Dawah Film's channel page, check out his videos, his video debates with Thunderfoot, check out the hundreds and hundreds of hate-filled racist comments he's gotten. Dawah Films has actually been forced to defend himself from baseless attacks, to respond to straw man arguments, and to respond to deliberate misrepresentations of him and his position. Because when a Muslim says something that's critical of U.S. foreign policy or critical of racist cartoons, all of a sudden they're an extremist, all of a sudden they're a terrorist. And many of his words have been taken out of context, twisted around, and used to make him look like the extremist, when in fact Thunderfoot is the extremist here. Now, I have some experience with this phenomenon. Right after 9/11, George W. Bush told us that that the reason the attacks happened is because they hate our freedom. They hate our freedom. That's what he said. And that was a goddamn lie. But it produced a profound effect in this country. If you're a Muslim after 9/11, you lived in fear. And the Muslim community came under heavy federal surveillance. Many innocent Muslims were rounded up, questioned, harassed, thrown in jail. Some were deported altogether. And it was an attempt by the government to silence dissent. It was an attempt by the government to dehumanize the people that the government was getting ready to kill en masse in Afghanistan and Iraq. That's what was going on. And on September 12, 2001, I'm very proud to say, I began handing out leaflets that said, "Don't turn tragedy into war." And eventually I ended up organizing an anti-war group on my conservative/right-wing college campus. Now, when I started handing out these flyers, people accused me of being a terrorist. People accused me of being an extremist. I'm not even a Muslim. I'm an atheist. Now, if I tell the creators of South Park, hey guys, you might want to think twice about publishing something that degrades the Prophet Muhammad or is somehow racist against him, you might want to think twice about that, because it's produced a lot of outrage and some violence before. that doesn't make me an extremist. That means I'm actually looking out for the people creating South Park. Furthermore, the decision to censor the cartoon was not Revolution Muslims. It was Comedy Central's. It was Viacom's. If you have a problem with censorship, take it up with them. Why are people attacking Islam? Why are people attacking Muslims when it was Viacom's board of directors or editorial and directors and producers of the South Park show who made that call? Unless they're Muslim, and I don't think that they are, Islam really has very little to do with this. This is not an Islam versus free speech issue. This is not an Islam versus freedom issue. This is not they hate our freedoms. Many newspapers, when they covered the story, brought up the fact that Muslims all over the world, in Iran, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Palestine, all over Western Europe, and in the United States, protested against a Danish newspaper cartoon in 2005. Now that issue is a very clear-cut case of racism. The Prophet Muhammad was depicted in this cartoon with a bomb on his head for his turban. That's racist. Bottom line, that's racist. People were not protesting because the Prophet Muhammad showed up in a newspaper. They protested because the Prophet Muhammad showed up in the newspaper as a terrorist, as a killer of large numbers of innocent civilians. That's why people got pissed off. That's why I got pissed off. I'm not even a Muslim. It's all part of the racist lie that Islam is somehow opposed to free speech or democracy or women's rights. In the last few years, a number of countries have also gone on to ban the burqa, ban the hijab, and ban the niqab in schools or in public in general. That's an attack on freedom. That is anti-freedom. That is anti-democratic. But we don't see many people on YouTube making videos about that, now do we? It's a lot easier to attack an oppressed group, an oppressed minority in the West, than it is to stand up against your own government, stand up against your own corporate media, and stand up against racist lies. So in conclusion, I just want to say that this is not a free speech versus Islam issue. This is not a Muslim extremist versus freedom or democracy issue. If you want to view it as an issue of censorship, you need to take that up with Comedy Central, not Islam, not Muslims. Furthermore, liberals, progressives, socialists, communists, radicals, we should be defending Muslims. We should be defending Islam from racist attacks. We should be defending people's right to worship as they please, as long as nobody's getting hurt. As long as nobody's getting hurt, why are niqabs and hijabs and burqas being banned? Why are we taking away women's right to practice their own religion? Because it's Islam.